Well, it's February, and that doesn't just mean Valentine's Day. You should mark that down, right?
It's hard to believe it's February already.
I know. It's a sign that we're getting old.
It goes quick. Quick.
What it does mean for Bible reading,
a new book,
actually 2 new books.
Well, that's right. So
technically, Paul wrote 13 letters, and you can't do those in 12 months.
That's right.
So we're blending 1st and 2nd Thessalonians for the month of February. It may not have been the best idea to do 2 books in the shortest month. But
these are short books.
They are short books.
And they were written so close together. That's part of also why we put them together. They are literally written within a few months of each other.
But they're
most.
They're next in the Jeff sequence.
Yeah, that's right. They're early. They're some of, if Galatians wasn't the earliest, then 1st and 2nd Thessalonians were.
Yeah, and there's kind of just some uncertainty about that, which really comes first, Galatians or 1st Thessalonians. So anyway, 1st Thessalonians for this coming week. Well, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians.
Right.
Remember, read them as a unit. At least once, read all the way through the book without stopping, so you get that letter feel to it.
And remember, one is 5 chapters, one is 3. Galatians was 6 chapters, so this is you can read both of these in a sitting still, very much
Relatively short, and I think if you found reading Galatians, maybe it was a little hard. And especially some of the stuff in the middle was difficult to figure out. It is.
Yeah.
But these books,
these are more accessible.
with the exception of chapter 2 of 2nd Thessalonians.
Yeah.
We got to deal with the man of sin there.
Yeah.
Week 3, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, not tonight.
But with the exception of that, I think most of it's pretty clear.
Yeah.
It won't be too hard to follow. And some of
And
that
more
has
familiar in some parts, at least, I think, than Galatians was for a lot of folks.
And I think that has something to do with the nature of the letters themselves and the circumstances in which they're written. So it's week 1 of the February Bible read. So this week we're going to be talking a little bit about the setting.
Yeah, set the book up here.
Yeah, in which the
letters
is
up.
found. So you'll want to maybe take a peek at Acts 17.
Right.
About the first 10 verses there. Second journey.
Right. We're in the second journey of Paul now.
Right. And he's now into Macedonia.
Right. So Galatians, we were still in what we called modern Turkey today, southern part of Asia Minor. We're across the Aegean Sea now, second journey. So we're closer to modern day Greece, Romania, Bulgaria, those countries there on that side.
Right. And we did prior to this, he'd been in Philippi. And some of the troubles.
Yeah, Acts 16, the famous Philippian jailer episode.
Yeah, that jailer. And then after this will come the Bereans.
Yep.
Which are pretty famous because they were more noble-minded.
In Athens, in this famous speech in Athens. He's literally working his way down the Balkan Peninsula.
Yeah. So in between Berea and Philippi, we have Thessalonica, which just the quick story of that, you got some good things, you got some bad things.
Yeah, I mean, it's Paul goes there, verse 2, as was his custom, his standard operating procedure, start with the Jews in the synagogue. They were looking for a Messiah anyways. They had the scriptures. And so 3 Sabbaths, he reasoned with them from the scriptures, explaining and proving that it was necessary for Christ to suffer and rise from the dead, saying, this Jesus whom I proclaim to you is the Christ. That's the Messiah. And some obeyed, as did some Gentiles.
Yes. Well, there's a pretty good Gentile population there.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's a Gentile city with a little Jewish minority there.
And so the early disciples there will be made up of Jews and Gentiles in this city.
But it's the Jews who become jealous.
Make the trouble.
Yeah.
And it isn't a little bit of trouble.
No.
It's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the whole city kind of gets turned upside down, and the accusation is huge.
Another king.
Yeah, that's right.
They like to play that card. He's challenging Caesar.
These men who have turned the world upside down.
I love that phrase. I do.
It's a stunning accusation.
It really is. And so, it's the scandal that often follows.
Well, that's right.
The gospel. I always thought what really indicated how hot things were in the city is the fact that Paul and Silas are sent on. Yeah. They're like, y'all need to get out of Dodge because we're worried about your safety. Kind of a deal.
Well, again, these were serious accusations. I mean, they're kind of, to threaten insurrection against Caesar or be accused of. I mean, that's literally what got Jesus crucified in one sense, right? I mean, the whole, he made himself out to be king of the Jews. Yeah. That's a serious charge that can lead to really serious consequences.
So think about how frustrating this would be for Paul to be in the city, to have seen some good success, to have it unnecessarily disrupted with trumped up charges.
Right.
And things get so hot, he's forced out of town. What he leaves behind is this fledgling church.
That's right.
In this hot setting. And listen, we always have to process this through their lens and not ours. There were no phones. There was no email.
Right.
He's not gonna do a Zoom call with anybody.
Right.
He's literally going to leave, and he's going to have no idea what's going on.
And we're talking about brand new Christians who have been Christians at most a matter of weeks.
Yeah.
And not only so are they obviously, there's going to be some gaps in what they've been taught, how much they understand, but now they're going to face this persecution, this pressure, because you get Paul and his entourage out of the way, but then you have the same resistance to these new Christians in the city. And so it's so you got baby Christians, brand new Christians in a hostile environment who still need teaching.
Yeah. So I love, now if you look at the letter, 1 Thessalonians, I love chapter 3 and verse 1. To me, it is so vivid. And it just says so much about who Paul was and how he felt about these people he worked with. He says, when we could endure it no longer.
Right.
So he's just out of his mind wondering, how are things going with my brethren there? So they send Timothy to check things out. And remember, this is going to take time. This isn't like hop a flight back to Thessalonica.
He's got to wander all the way back up the peninsula.
Yeah, and so he's got to go. And then he comes back, and the word is good. They're doing great.
Right.
The brethren have been faithful to the Lord. And so this letter is Paul's response to Timothy's report.
Right.
So as you read, think about that. I want to get ahead of ourselves here because
that's my job.
That's actually very true. Because next week we're going to talk a little bit about what the content of the letter was. So as you read this, think about the setting, think about the circumstances that provoked it. So a lot of trouble early in the development of this church. Paul's got to flee. He finally gets a chance to send Timothy back, and now Timothy has come to him and he's brought him good news about this new congregation. And the question is, what kind of things is Paul going to be saying as he sends this letter back? And so that kind of gives you a primer for your reading this week. Think about that. And look for what his message might be as he sends this letter back. And we hope you profit from your reading this week.